Yo, what's up, man? Listen, I keep telling y'all, I got the dopest channel on YouTube. Shout out to all my subscribers. Shout out to my man Moses Cuevas for hooking this up for me. Go to my website, gunbypublishing.bigcartel.com. Buy both of my books, all three of my t-shirts. I got some more t-shirts coming up soon, some new designs. Today, man, I want to tell y'all about somebody that when I got released from prison in January 2016, I was on YouTube and I saw this series called Freshout series. I was fucking with Kali Muscle, and then I guess with me fucking with Kali Muscle, YouTube suggested Freshout series to me, and I saw this dude here, and I was more attracted to him because he had that federal prison. His shit was federal. So I used to watch it and shit and be like, let me see what's up with this nigga, man. And I saw no discrepancies. Everything that he said was money. Yo, this is none other than Big Herc 916. Yo, Herc, man, thank you for giving me the chance to get this interview, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate the opportunity. I know we've been communicating for a while, and it's great to finally be face-to-face with you, man. Shout out to everybody, Big Herc 916.
And yo, Big Herc, man, I got to tell you, man, and this shit is real, man, that, you know, when I saw you, that Fresh Out shit, telling your stories, you be sitting in the backyard and you was lifting weights with one nigga. One day I was doing this 7, 7, and 7 or some shit. Your ability to freely discuss your life and your experiences, man, was one of the things that attracted me to you, your authenticity. And I started fucking with you. Yo, go to Big Herc's channel, Big Herc 916. Subscribe to his channel. Go to Fresh Out series. Subscribe to that. Yo, Herc, man, where you from, man?
I'm from Sacramento, man, but I'm a part of Sacramento called North Highlands, Northern California.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Okay, now you was a military kid too, though, right? Was something like that?
Yeah.
I heard.
My grandfather was in the Air Force. My mom had me real young, so I kind of was raised by my grandfather, my grandmother. And then my mom married when she was 18 and a half, 19 to a guy who was in the Coast Guard. So I've kind of been around the military life my whole life.
Okay. You were basically in California your whole life, or as a military kid, did you move around different parts?
We moved around a little bit. When I was probably, I think, first grade, we moved to Galveston, Texas, and we were there for probably 2.5 years. And then we moved back to California, which we were in the Bay Area, Treasure Island, and I lived there from like 3rd grade to about 7th grade.
Now, Herc, you was a smart motherfucker in school, man. You was B student and all that shit. You're well spoken. You're very articulate, man. Could you talk a little bit about your academic situation?
Academically, I was pretty much almost a straight A student. I got maybe from the time I was from 3rd grade up until 8th grade, I maybe had 2, maybe 3 Bs. But I was pretty much straight A student. I was in the gifted and talented program. Our school was the school I went to in San Francisco, Martin Luther King Jr. High School, was an academic school. They didn't have any sports. You know, they had things like the John Muir program, calligraphy class, computer programming. So it was pretty advanced, even though it was in the hood. And Hunters Point, they really stressed academics, and I was very good academically.
All right, now Herc, you know, and a lot of this information I'm getting is from watching your videos and shit. Now, at some point, you made a decision to fuck around and get involved in the streets and all of that shit. Mm-hmm. What's up with that?
Well, it wasn't until my mom got a divorce when she was in the 7th grade, and we moved back to Sacramento, but we lived in a part of North Highlands that was more street. It was a lot of ex-penitentiary dudes, a lot of drug dealing, Jerry curl dudes with D's on their car with the beat, and just that whole scene, 80s, a lot of stuff going on in the street, a lot of crack and stuff like that being passed around, and I kind of was exposed to that. And at the time I was BMXing, skateboarding. I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. I was still getting good grades. I mean, I was designing clothing, shoes. I had wrote Nike, Adidas. I had wrote in television because I had designed video games. I was trying to figure out ways how to make money before I turned to the street. So I was doing a lot of creative things, but my mom worked 2 jobs. This stuff was kind of cute to her. She didn't really know what I was doing or to the extent, and I had no male figure saying, hey man, this is a great idea. I just was trying stuff. I'd look on the back of a package, write down the address, put a manila envelope together and send the shit out. And that's kind of like what I was doing. And after my freshman year of high school, playing basketball, playing football, and I started seeing the girls going towards the guys who were selling drugs. These guys, most of them had, graduated 2-3 years before, but they used to come up to the school with the music, with the money, and I'm like, man, I want to be like these dudes. And when I set my mind to something, I'm the type of person, I'm going to stop till I get it. So I kind of like program myself to be a street guy from that point on.
Alright, so now this is the shit I want to talk about, man. Where the Fed niggas at, man? Nigga got that motherfucking Fed look, man. So, Herc, you rob a bank, man.
Yeah.
What for what? What was going what?
Well, I tell people, you don't wake up one day and decide to commit a bank robbery. You don't wake up one day and decide you're gonna, pack a pistol. You kind of go through the motion and you build momentum. So along with the momentum of me initially getting in trouble when I was younger, from selling crack to getting caught up with a home invasion to, just doing all the street stuff, I had worked myself up to where my mentality had become susceptible to where if somebody mentioned something that seemed like it was somewhat, doable, I was ready to roll. I'm like, let's get busy. And so when this opportunity presented itself, rather than me being in a position in the mind frame and say, man, I'm not gonna do this dumbass shit, I was like, well, shit, what's cracking? How do you plan to execute this? And I rationalized it, which today I would never entertain something like that, but at the time, in my mind state, I rationalized it and I made a bad choice.
Now, Herc, check it out. Talk about that morning, man. Talk about how did y'all plan this shit out, or what? Over the course of a few weeks before the day to do it, and talk about that morning, man.
It was planned out somewhat. I mean, the guy who mentioned it actually created the idea. I should have known. These weren't really street dudes, man. These dudes are some like kind of square type cast, but they wanted to be, street cred, and they knew I was a street dude because of just how I carried myself and somewhat through conversation. So they're like, hey man, bringing me in was somewhat of a confidence builder for them. And we had previously, before we robbed the bank, went and checked the bank out, and I had did licks. So I'm thinking, okay, well this is a lick, but this is just a lick on a more corporate level. And I was like, it looked like it could possibly be doable, but I overlooked a lot of the warning signs, like the 2 guys who I did the bank robbery with arguing, going back and forth. One dude
on the way there.
Yeah, just during the planning process. One guy in the process of planning, he wanted to stop and get some chocolate. This other nigga was like, nigga, we don't need no chocolate. You gonna pull over, you're gonna be on a camera somewhere and they're gonna be able to tie that in later on to the bank robbery. Oh, now I gotta have my chocolate, blah, blah. These niggas was arguing. I'm sitting in the car like, these dumb motherfuckers, man. I should have been right there like, this ain't the right combination. Let me out. So they arguing, and then they finally start saying, man, both of y'all shut the fuck up, man. You know what I mean? And so after that, it was still in the planning stages, but we continue with the plans. And I kept thinking like, man, you hear the voices and you're like, you shouldn't be doing this, but then I just kept shaking it off like, oh man, it's just the nervous jitters or whatever the case may be. I try to make sense of it. And even on the morning of the bank robbery, I knew that it wasn't a good idea because my mom, who never calls me, called me early in the morning and asked me, what am I doing? And it's like, probably, at 7:30, 8 in the morning, and I'm like, damn, I'm sitting there and I got on a jumpsuit, with a change of clothes underneath, and I'm strapped up. I'm waiting for these dudes to come pick me up, go do the lick. So I knew it wasn't just that right there was the ultimate sign. Don't go.
Right. Leave this shit alone.
Leave this shit alone. It's raining. It's overcast, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, nothing, Mom. I'm just sitting here watching news, eating some breakfast with the dog. I had a couple little dogs and shit, and I'm like, fuck. I got off the phone with her, and I sat there for a minute, and then dude had hit me up on the phone. He's like, hey, we're out front. And I'm thinking, damn, man. And I had already made that commitment, and my just I guess arrogance or just non-compliance, I decided to go along with it anyways, and jumped in the car. And you know, we rode out the Navigator. It was raining, bad weather. You know, these dudes, everybody was quiet. I could tell these dudes are kind of nervous. You know, I had never really done that with these dudes before, so I didn't really have any history with them, which was another bad sign. And you know, we rode out there to the bank, and it was in Ventura County, which is the worst county. There's cops everywhere. Ventura is like loaded with police. And rode up to the bank and pulled in front. It was raining. And it's one of those banks that had like a circular driveway. So the drive in, drive out, you could drive through the teller and go out and go around and get your money, whatever. And we pulled up, and you know, we just kind of sat there. And actually, we weren't in a Navigator yet. We were in a Ford Escort, a white Ford Escort. And I had the ski mask, but with a beanie on my head. And I said, "Fuck it!" I pulled it down and jumped out with the rifle and ran up in the bank. And then I'm like, you know, the dude in the front seat, you know, I didn't even see if he got up. He jumped out. He ran out behind me and ran up in the bank and just told everybody, get the fuck down. You know what I mean? And held it down. So people were screaming. A couple of people, one person tried to hurry up and run out the bank. Had a security guard, had him on the ground. Everybody, you know what I mean? He jumped in. He came in, jumped over the counter, and it was slow motion. Like time stopped. You could hear everything. It was like you could hear, but everything sounded like it was kind of like audio clogged. It was like it's a weird thing, man. It's the worst feeling, man, because you know it's all bad. You know what I mean? It's all bad,
it ain't
man.
gonna end well.
No, man, it's not, and it's real because you're in it. You can't leave now. I'm in it. I'm in some shit that I shouldn't be in, and I'm doing some shit I'm already violating. It's
no
a
turning
wrap.
back.
No turning back. So he's over the counter. He's shouting and shit. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, damn, man. You know what I mean? This shit's taking longer than it needs to be, and I look out the window, and when I look out the window, in the parking lot, I see what's look like a sheriff in one of them yellow rain suits, and he had a shotgun. And I'm like, oh man, this one, they're out there. So I'm like, telling dude, hurry up, man, let's go. And dude finally jumps back over the counter. I run out, and the other dude's sitting in the driver's seat, and he's waiting for us. And another dude jumps in, and we speed off, and we pull out into the traffic. And it's a lot of traffic right now, man. This is LA, man. Traffic at like 9, 10 o'clock is horrible, man. And we pull out another cop car. A sheriff gets behind us and bumps us. And so we look back, and I guess, I don't know if by coincidence or if he knew it was us, and it's a high-speed chase from there.
Now, I saw pictures of you on the highway,
Yeah.
running on the highway.
Yeah.
So what happened to you? You jump out the car?
Yeah. What happened was, I mean, when the cop bumped us, we went up. We had another car stashed. We were going to switch cars and then head up to the bay. Well, we pulled into this like driveway, and the cop like had basically boxed us in, and he got out the car and had his gun over his door. And was like, you know, get out the car, get out. And we're sitting there, and I'm like, damn, this shit is over quick. Man, we didn't even get nowhere. We were down the street. And the cop got out the car, and we're looking at each other, and dude guns it. Boom! The cop's like, he didn't shoot, so we gunning around him, and we go into another little parking little area, and it's kind of like a plaza of different little businesses, and we park in there, you know, change of clothes, boom, we jump in the Navigator. But by then there's cops everywhere, fucking SWAT cars, SWAT truck, everything, and they're looking around, and we're in the Navigator, and they're already, and they don't know which way we went, so we pull out. And we pull out, and they look, and they make eye contact with 3 black guys in a Navigator, which don't look right. So we pulled out in the traffic in high-speed chase, and we get in the Navigator. We jump on the freeway, and there's, you know, I don't know how many cop cars, helicopter, and eventually they threw the spike strip, and the car was rolling on the rims. And when the car finally came to a stop, he's like, "Man, I'm just gonna pull over." I jumped over the center divider, ran across like 4 or 5 lanes of traffic, tried to run up an embankment, look for a place to hide, and then I ran. I'm just running just to be running, and they arrested me on the beach. So I'm arrested on the beach boardwalk, and the cops was like, "Oh man, you gave us a little bit of action for the day," and they were laughing.
All right, so Herc, then from this you end up going to the feds, right?
Yeah, I went to the feds, man. 120 months.
Okay, on a bank robbery charge. Where you went to? Your first spot was what? USP Lompoc?
USP Lompoc. You know, they called it the castle back then. I mean, the average dude in there was doing, you know, 20, 30 years, life, you know. So it It was a maximum security prison back then, and that's where I started off at. And then when my points dropped after 18 months, they sent me to FCI Sheridan.
Okay, where's Sheridan at?
Sheridan's in Oregon. So Sheridan, when I first got there, you know, they looked kind of like a college campus. They had waves. It was, you know, they used to throw outdoor concerts. It was like pretty chill. The vibe was there with never no drama, never no, you know, anything going on. And that place was pretty chill, a great learning environment. And then they brought in this other warden who was at Marion, who was a straight asshole. You know, one of those kind, you know, kind of like the guy from Django, Samuel Jackson character.
Yeah.
One of those type of brothers. So he was the warden.
Oh, it was a brother?
No, man, nigga. This dude, man, he come in and he tried to shake. He as soon as he seen the camp, he's like, oh man, I gotta change this. You know, he wants to put barbed wire up, take the weights. So this is what they do in the feds, right? Or in any institution that's going smoothly. They eventually started bringing in people who they knew were going to create conflict within the populace there, because it was Nathaniel Serrano's coexisting, but then they eventually brought in somebody from another clique that they knew would upset the balance of power, so it created conflict, and this conflict was going to result in a riot situation, which it did, and within, you know, probably a month or two of this guy being there, a riot happened, place was locked down, they took all the weights, put barbed wire everywhere, and it pretty much fucked off the spot.
Now, Big Herc, man, you are a very sharp brother, and that shows through your business acumen. Shout out to my man Ant right there too, with your YouTube channel. You got 2 channels. Subscribe to his channel, Big Herc 916. A change took place in Big Herc at some point, and whether that was at Lompoc or at Sheridan, where I guess you figured, like, I can't get out of this motherfucker and go rob some more banks. Could you talk about that change, man?
Well, from the beginning, to me, the banks were the ends to a means, because I was like thinking on the business sense, which it still wasn't the best planning, but my goal to take the bank from robbing money. I had a connection on some ecstasy. I had a plug in Atlanta. I was gonna move that out here, make me like $500,000. Then I had a couple rappers. I was gonna put them on my label. I was gonna start another Death Row. You know what I'm saying? So rather than go to the bank, I had some moves to flip, and I was like, you know, I was street dudes. I was like to make some street moves.
Business plans,
which, you know, it wasn't the best way to proceed, but that's my plan. So after I got locked up, man, I really had an epiphany, man. Like, man, this is it, man. This is the game over. The feds, man, this is a wrap. So I really started looking at, man, I got to change my mentality, my ways, and how did I get to this point? So I started doing a whole reflection process where I started really reading a lot of spiritual books and Lompoc, a lot of self-help books, a lot of things. I got really involved in the law. I became a guy who, you know, studied the law, and through this knowledge, man, it just really awakened me up and educated me. And more educated I became, the less inclined to entertain anything of foolishness. You know, the stuff became irrelevant. You know, I didn't want to engage in conversations about war stories, about, you know, violence I participated in, you know, anything stupid. I just
all the women and all that.
Yeah, I didn't want to even talk about that. So Lompoc is where I really kind of like figured out, you know, hey man, I got to get out. I'm gonna get out a decade later. I'm gonna have nothing to show for as far as assets, and I have to somehow figure out a plan. And so I started coming up with all these other business ideas and things I want to do, and I try to put myself around the smartest people in the penitentiary so I can learn from them, so when I got out, I could take that knowledge and apply it to create my own business plan.
Herc, talk about some of the wizards you met in there, man. Some of them brainy dudes, them wizards, man.
Well, the smartest people I run across in the pen are in the law library. The law library is where you go to study, you know, get educational classes, you know, basically educate yourself. And I met a guy, you know, coming out of this guy didn't even go to the law library. He had his own library in his cell, but he used to see me all the time. And he was an older white guy, ex-Vietnam vet, and he was doing 30 years. And he said, "Hey man, what are you doing, man? Come up here." He's on the 3rd tier. I was on the 1st tier. And I went up to his cell, and he's like, what are you studying? I said, man, I'm studying the law. He said, man, what are you in here for? I said, man, I'm here for bank robbery. You know, I pled guilty, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why are you in there? I said, I'm trying to find a way to get out early, man. I said, look at this shit, man. I said, I'm not trying to do all this time. I'm trying to see if I can get out a day early it's worth it. And he said, okay, well, I got some stuff for you to read. And he gave me some books, and he gave me the congressional acts. He gave me, excerpts from the U.S. Attorney's Manual. And I started reading all this stuff. And I would get headaches, and I'd have sleepless nights. I'd be like, man, how stupid was I, man? God, why'd I do this? I mean, I would have never robbed the bank. I'd have been doing something else. You know what I mean? I'm like, why am I playing myself so short? And I started reading. The more I read, the more I distanced myself from other people. I don't even want to talk to them. And dudes is like, oh, you don't want to hang out. And I just started really looking at myself, my life.
Facts.
And it was life-changing, man. And between him and another brother I met out of South Central, shout out to Giles, I learned how to become a man, and I learned about who I was and all the bullshit I was taught, which created that old platform. I had to get rid of all that. I had to basically, just delete all that and create a whole new platform, which became the new Big Herc, which allowed me to kind of get out here and get my mind right and become a more successful individual.
All right, Big Herc, man, I got 2 more questions. We're going to shut it down, man. On my channel, man, I do a lot of workout videos and shit, and a lot of my routines that I did in the feds, I post them on my channel, and I talk a lot about the intensity of the workout and the savageness of the workouts that I did, and I saw other motherfuckers on the compound doing the workout. You look like you work out. We ain't on that other shit, fruit pop shit, but you look like you still working out and shit. Could you talk about some of the workouts and shit and some of the niggas you saw, white dudes, Spanish dudes, black, like how they fucking worked out, how much they worked out, and could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and in Long Park they didn't have free weights, but they had machine weights, and people would hide, because they didn't have pins in the weights, because everybody makes shanks out of them, so people would hide pins. And basically, the Bloods had their car. The guys from, Chicago had their car. LA Cats had their car. We had our little car we worked out in. And everybody would kind of like, you have your pin, you take it around, and you see dudes working out. And, you have some dudes up in there that were on some beast mode status. You know what I mean? We call it the Wig Splitter workout right now, what we got to go home. But in there, it was just like really some beast mode shit where dudes are in there training and working out, and to the point where it was like retarded strength. I remember the cat, this old Cuban dude, I don't know how long he had been down, but they said he was in the Atlanta riots when they had all the Cubans that took over the prison and shit. And this guy had been down a long time when they all the exiles came over here, and they call him Peoples, man. And this dude was ripped. I mean, yoked up, ripped. And you're looking like with the diet, with the carbs and all that stuff. People talking about keto and all, man, wasn't no damn keto up in there. It was all about just working out. And this dude, he's the type of dude, he's an OG, but everybody, like, nobody really wants folks, they know this dude was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, man, people want to get with you, man. You got to be ready to die or kill him, because he like one of them type of off type dudes. Like, you talk to a dude, and you're like, damn, this nigga kind of crazy, man. You know what I mean? This dude, like, he cool, but you don't really want to get too intimate with him, because if you back up, he's like, oh, homie, you don't talk to me no more? He one of them type of dudes. So I used to see him. He was on yoke status with a couple other big dudes. I remember there was one real big crip dude. He used to lift a whole stack on the machine. He'd be benching, repping that shit, blah, 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 doing this and that. But just on the flip side, this dude, one of the strongest dudes on the compound, somebody showed up on the compound, and word was this nigga was hot. Man, this nigga went straight from the cafeteria to the lieutenant, man, checked me in, and because these niggas was about to punish his ass. So even with your size and what you consider to be like that, it didn't matter in the pen. Somebody would bring it to you. You know what I mean? Somebody would split your motherfucking wig. So, size it only carried you so far. But, working out was definitely something, dudes took serious, man. As soon as the doors were cracked, you got guys who'd go out and run 4 or 5 miles. Guys who would come back and then they work out, they'd go study, then go work out. I mean, it was like a life, you take a nap right before 4 o'clock count, get up after 4 o'clock count, go do your, whatever else you're doing. But working out, the dedication is by far is something that kept people grounded, because if you couldn't work out, it's like you had nothing else to put that energy into. So that kept a lot of people sane. And for me, I had a lot of legal work, and like they couldn't touch my legal work, so we made basically curl bags, tricep bags by tying together laundry bags. We'd be lifting books. We'd be out there lifting books, And then in the summertime, we take out pillowcases and take them out to the yard and fill them up with sand and be doing old sandbag workouts. So, working out for me, I never stopped. I worked out every day until the day I got out.
Bigger, how old are you, man?
45.
45. What would the 45-year-old Big Herc tell the 25-year-old Big Herc?
A 25-year-old Big Herc, man, I would say a 45-year-old Big Herc would tell him, hey, man, peep out your surroundings and the people you consider your friends, and what your long-term objectives are, and how you're going about putting together your goals in life. At 25, man, I had looking back, I had no clue, man, as far as what I was doing from month to month, year to year. I had ideas of things I thought would work, but nothing that was proven. And, I didn't have a mentor, man. I would say, if you're 25, try to put yourself around somebody who's more educated than yourself, so you can pick up game and, and try to set you some long-term goals that you feel are attainable, and put together, a step-by-step. Because it's just like, I tell people, like, you're talking about you want to be this guy or do that, and it's like driving across the country without a map, without Google Maps or without a road map. Dude, you're just driving down the highway. What do? You stop and try to ask what town you in. It's the same thing with life. If you don't have any type of direction, any type of signals or signs that you're going in the right path, then you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And to save yourself from those mistakes, the best thing to do is plan. Try to plan out, and then exposure. Put yourself around people who can give you more game than what you already got. Because at 25, you don't know shit. So you need to be humble and get around somebody who could teach you something so that you can learn. But that's the only way, man, because you can't get it in the book. Life is your teacher.
Yo, man, this is the dopest channel on YouTube, man. Big Herc talks about prison on his channels. I talk about prison on mine. In no way, shape, or form are we advocating prison or are we glorifying prison. I think what this man here embodies is that you can make a comeback as a convicted felon. And if you're not a convicted felon, you can still do and make a comeback in your life from whatever situation has happened to you, whatever reverse or whatever. This man, you just heard his story. You know my story. We make comebacks, man. It's never over. Yo, Big Herc, my man, thank you for having me on your show, man.
Hey, man.
And this is my frat brother here. Shout out to all the fair niggas, man, that's out, that's living good lives, that's living law-abiding lives, man. We not into the bullshit. We not into going back to prison, man. But we not ashamed of where we've been. Big Herc, thank you, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man.
Stigmatism in my soul. Peace.
Big Herc 916.